What's good, YouTube? I'm Robert with the Crosscut Creations channel. Today we are making a stool as a wedding present for a couple of friends that are getting married. If you want to see how I did it, stick around.
I'll put the Pinterest article, the link in the description for the plan that I used. My wife and I went up to Woodcraft and we went to find an 8/4 piece of material. We initially looked at red oak and cherry, but after doing the math, it was a little expensive. So after looking around for a little bit and trying to figure out what to do, we found this 8/4 piece of African mahogany. It's about 5 feet long, and this is what we're using to create this stool today. I'm using this edge joining jig because I don't have a joiner right now. It's my unofficial track saw made out of plywood and a 1x3. After I rip one edge clean, I go ahead and rip the 5-foot 8/4 mahogany board, African mahogany board, to 9 1/4, and then I plane the board to thickness. I wasn't going for a specific thickness at this point. I was just trying to get the board flat on both sides. This took quite a few passes because this piece of 5-foot long African mahogany was a beast. This took a while, but it looked nice after it was done being planed. After planing, I established a clean edge, and then I measured 12 inches over for the seat of the stool and then cut that to length. This plan calls for a 6-foot long board, but I got a 5-foot long board and still had some extra material, so don't worry about it too much if you don't have a full 6 feet, because I had a 5-foot board and still had material left over. So there's the seat right there, and all I'm doing here is labeling it because I'm cutting my pieces and I want to make sure that I know which part goes where. This is the first project that I've ever really done that has had miters and bevels, so I'm setting my saw to a 15-degree bevel here. I'm establishing one edge and then I'm measuring and marking for the legs. There are going to be 2 legs, so I have to do this twice. And with this being my first project that had bevels and miters, I was pretty excited about how it came out and I was pleased with the results. Again, I'm labeling the legs here just so I know exactly how to assemble this when it comes time to do that. I'm reestablishing a 90-degree angle on my miter saw so I can cut the middle stretcher for support. And once again, we're going to label that stretcher just so I know exactly what pieces go where. Here's the stretcher one more time. I'm cutting it to 4 inches wide because that's all you need for this stretcher. And then the piece on the left and not next to the fence becomes extra. So here's all of the pieces labeled: the top, the legs, and then the arrows up just tell me the orientation, and then the middle support there. So those are literally all your pieces for this project. At this point, I'm just sanding down or sanding off the burn marks with 60 grit paper. Nothing fancy, just taking off the burn marks. After I take off the burn marks, I'm doing the initial glue up. I set the legs 2 inches in from the outsides of the seat and then went ahead and used 2-inch brad nails to hold everything together while the glue dried. And I still have the labels on the pieces, so I know exactly which piece is what, even though it is mostly assembled at this point. It just makes me feel better to know that each piece is where it needs to be. Here I'm cutting the miters for the center stretcher. These were 15-degree miters. Here we are with the stool assembled and in the clamps. After it sits overnight, we take the clamps off and we get ready to reinforce the glue joints and the nail and the brad nails with some screws. The first screw I used was a 3-inch screw, and I quickly realized that that was too long of a screw. So after I figured out that that was too long of a screw, I backed it out, and then I just used 1 5/8 inch screws. On the rest of the project, I put 2 in each leg, going from the leg to the bottom of the seat, and then 2 more from the support piece to the leg. I pre-drilled, used an awl to get the pre-drilling started, pre-drilled, and then put the 1 5/8 inch screws into their final places. Once I figured out that the 1 5/8 inch screws were what I needed, this process went really smoothly, especially with an awl in the pre-drill, because you pre-drill at an angle to get the screws into the correct spaces. Here we are sanding the stool. I used 60 grit, 120 and 220 to get it smooth. I'm not going to bore you with all of that sanding, so here's just a small snapshot. And then I used denatured alcohol to clean off the piece. After I let the denatured alcohol dry, I went ahead and put 5 coats of spray shellac on the stool, hand sanding with 400 grit in between each coat. This is just one coat that I'm showing in the video, but I did use 5 coats built up over a period of time. I really like how the spray shellac brought out the grain in this African mahogany, and I'm just really pleased about how this came out. Here's the stool after 5 coats of spray shellac. Here it is in our kitchen. It won't live in our kitchen because it was a wedding gift, but there it is. And here's some glamour shots of what the stool looks like again after it's completely finished and done. So I hope you enjoyed this build video. Enjoy these last few shots.
I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. It was a lot of fun. This this stool was already given as a present. We had so much fun celebrating with Aaron and Meghan. I wish you nothing but the best, a happy marriage, and be sure, if you like this video, to give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one.